Hi! Welcome to Body, Mind, Spirit. I know this is not the normal place. Normally I'm at Promise Resource Network. However, the Promise Resource Network crew is having a Thanksgiving celebration. So, still wanted to offer this because I know so many of you don't live in Charlotte, and those of you that do live in Charlotte can still catch this so that you can have the best of both worlds. You can experience this and also join PRN for the Thanksgiving goodness, if that is what you celebrate, or you can just celebrate community and all the things to be grateful for. So, this is Body, Mind, Spirit. I'm Jane, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things, especially because we're moving into this holiday season. Um, so, I wanted to talk about some ways that we can keep our body, mind, and spirit as healthy as possible. So, let's start first with the body. Let's start with the body because it's here, right? It's here, it's now. So, this is this interesting time of year where we go inside more, right? Because it's typically colder. So, we don't have as much fresh air. And so, our immune system's already like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing? Normally, I'm outside and just getting healthier by the day. But why are you inside so much? And so, our immune systems kind of get a little bit wonky just because we're indoors more. And then we combine that with all this extra added sugar. It's kind of nuts. Like it starts off with Halloween and then it goes into Thanksgiving and then it goes into the Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you want to celebrate at the end of the year, all the way to New Year's, where it like caps it all off with a lot of people drinking a lot of alcohol. It's also a time of year where a lot more people drink a lot more alcohol, which turns into a sugar as well, right? So between all of like the breads and pastas and desserts and candies and beverages, it's a lot of sugar on the body. That increases inflammation in our body more than most anything else. Like legit. And when our body is inflamed, it becomes more acidic. And when it's more acidic, it gets inflamed. They kind of work with each other anyway. When our body's inflamed, our immune system goes down. We become weaker in the realm of health, big time. So it also messes with our brain a lot. It creates addictive patternings in the brain. It is, it shoots up our blood sugar and all this other stuff. But the effects of sugar on the body, it's addictive. So not only is it addictive, but it actually makes us unwell. It doesn't let us process things as easily. It doesn't allow us to absorb nutrients as easily. It can create, I'll get into that in a minute actually. Um, Pause on that thought, Jane. Okay, go back to this one. Okay. So when we eat all the sugar, it's like when it's once in a while, like fine, right? Like we're humans, duh. And when we eat it all the time, our bodies don't know what to do with that, right? It's like it's like if you have a car and you put like a little bit of the wrong gasoline in it, it may be okay, right? But if you keep putting that wrong gasoline in it, eventually it's like, I can't process this. Like, this is not the gasoline that I need. It's not the fuel that our bodies actually need. There's no nutrients to sugar, right? At least when we look at other sweeteners like monk fruit, coconut sugar, honey, they have other properties to it that give us a little something, right? Like, may not be a lot, but it'll give us a little something. Straight up sugar, old school white sugar, is one of the more deadly substances that we can eat, especially when consumed over any length of time. So if you just look at like this season, it's basically October, November, like 3 months solid of ingesting a ton of it. You add that onto whatever your normal practices is over the year of eating sugar, and then times that by however many years you've been alive. We've all been putting our body in a lot of stress with sugar. And when we start to take it out of our diet, then we actually will have withdrawal symptoms. We'll get grumpy, we get hangry, we get headaches, we have detox symptoms, right? It's like quitting alcohol. It's really uncomfortable. So we're moving into this timeline of the holidays where it's like sugar bombs all day, every day. So an invitation is to love your body so much that you can say no. Okay? It's just an invitation. You do you. I just want everyone to stay as healthy and well as possible and to feel really good in your body and like live a long, healthy life. Something else about sugar. There's this mental thing about it. It literally uh makes kind of every time I do this, they yawn. No idea why. Anyway, when when we eat sugar, then we get this like thought pattern that's like kind of obsessive, almost like the oh look how light I just got. That was weird. Almost like this how am I going to get my next fix, my next hit? Where am I going to get that next piece of candy? Or you start to crave the sugar item, right? You want another piece of cake. You know, you want another slice of bread. You know, you want another roll. Although you've had numerous. Man, speaking of, I remember back in the day, this was many years ago when I used to have a different lifestyle. I used to go to a steakhouse a lot, especially when I was married. H1 loved that experience of like the steakhouse. And so we would go and they would like bring you like a basket of bread, like rolls, and we would sit there and eat the whole basket, and then they'd bring us another basket. And we would polish that off. We would each basically eat an entire basket of bread rolls before the meal even arrived. We were basically eating like tablespoons of sugar, right? Before we even got to the meal. So we were creating so much like inflammation in in our brain, I mean in our body, like the ability to even process all of the animal fats that were going in makes it hard on the arteries, literally. Anyway, but I remember being like, "You want to go to this steakhouse tonight?" You'd be like, "Yeah." And I think we were just so addicted to those stupid freaking rolls. You know, it's nuts. So anyway, when we ingest a lot of sugar, it doesn't allow us to think clearly. We get foggy minded. We don't think as easily, efficiently as we could. If we have any emotional instability, it will throw that even further out of whack. If we have mental instability, it will throw that further out of whack. So if you're having like a mental or emotional episode, right? And if you go to sugar thinking, well, it'll give you that quick fix and it'll just make you feel better for now, trust that it's actually going to make you feel worse in the long run, right? It just does. So being mindful around sugar, and oftentimes we'll turn to sugar when we're having a hard time, right? Many of us, I'm just thinking about it, all the times that I've done that, when I would be having a hard time, I was stressed out with work, or I was behind with something in school, or going through a relationship challenge with a friend or a partner, whatever. I would go to sugar to make me feel better because I didn't have coping tools, nor did I have the knowing that I could look inward. I was always like reflecting out, like, oh, that they did this and that's why I'm pissed. Let me go get a piece of cake or whatever. Let me go get a drink. Let me go get something that turns into sugar in my body because I didn't have the tools to cope with my emotions, right? So when we don't have the tools to actually human, the sugar is a really quick fix. So something that helps, especially during these times of potential stress, maybe you are upset more because you don't have family around. Maybe you have to go see your family and maybe they don't like you. Maybe you don't like them. Maybe your family doesn't even invite you over, right? Like, who knows? So it can be a stressful time. So we can either go toward the sugar and increase the stress in our body, giving our mind just a mental little dopamine hit of like, okay, I'm good now, ha ha ha. Instead, we can do things, right? We can actually use tools to not use the sugar and to be able to navigate a time where it's all around us all the time. So, some tools that I just want to share is mindfulness practices. One, just being mindful of a pattern of every time I have to go to work and they have donuts every day because it's holidays. I just, again, no idea why I'm yawning on this. Not tired. Anyway, and then I also got a flashback of when I was at work at one of the places. I went in and they would be like boxes of like Krispy Kreme and then or like Dunkin' Donuts. And I'd be like, oh God, this is a weakness. Like for me to not eat it was such a challenge because my mouth likes it. I love the taste of donuts. Love the taste of donuts. And I would eat them sometimes. Sometimes I would eat a half of one. Sometimes I'd eat a whole one. Sometimes I would eat numerous ones. And it didn't matter what I ate, it didn't feel good in my body. And if I ate a whole one, if I ate two, I actually would get a headache because my body would literally start going into like, what are you doing to me mode, right? It's like putting too much of the wrong gas in your car. So being mindful of that, like, hey, yeah, I'm aware that this is going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I bring enough food so I'm not hungry and just running back there and grabbing a donut to satisfy nourishment needs because it's not nourishing whatsoever. Um, could be mindful of my emotions so that when I feel this desire to go reach for sugar, whenever that is, to ask myself, to pause and ask myself, what am I feeling first? Not just in the physical, but in the emotional and in the mental bodies. What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? And I might notice there's a pattern. I'm feeling really sad. I'm feeling really sad. I'm feeling really frustrated. Well, then that gives me a clue that every time I feel sad or frustrated that I have an addictive pattern that goes to sugar, right? So it's just being mindful and being kind with ourselves and asking ourselves, like, hey, homie, what you feeling? And then giving ourselves a minute to check in and to respond to ourselves. And then we can start to make healthier decisions. And that may mean that you go get a glass of water, you make some tea, you go for a walk, you do something to let the craving pass, right? And being mindful when we are at events or gatherings or functions, family things, whatever, to be able to say no. And I know it's not necessarily easy because, if you put pumpkin pie, chocolate cake, brownies, cookies, all that shit in front of me, bet I'm going to want to eat a huge amount of each and every one of them. For sure. So, what I may do is take a bite of all of them, literally one bite. And then I might have like one piece of something. But I'm also very particular and I don't do gluten, I don't do wheat. So that takes a whole lot of stuff out of my reality. So I'm really grateful for that sensitivity. Thanks to the glyphosate they spray on all the wheat. Roundup. My body doesn't like Roundup. Don't worry, your body doesn't either. No human does. Our bodies can't process that. It's amazing. It literally eats away the gut lining. Just then we get leaky gut and our blood gets all types of toxic. It's so silly. So, another thing around the sugar before I forget, when we eat sugar, right? Oftentimes it's accompanied with fats. And I learned this years and years ago that one of the most deadly foods, y'all, check this out: ice cream, dairy ice cream, one of the most deadly foods in the United States. It doesn't help that they add a lot of gums to it, which our body can't really process. But even if you look at just regular old ice cream, it's saturated fat and a lot of sugar. When those two components combine, they block the arteries to the heart, and people are more likely to have heart attacks. Eat your ice cream, just don't eat it all the time, right? Don't eat it every day, right? Don't put that fuel in that car every day. A little bit here and there, okay, is what they had at the station, right? I get it. So anyway, so being mindful of what we're moving into, right? Like, okay, well, I know I'm going to go to this event and I know that there's going to have all these options there. You know, can I maybe before I go, right, set an intention of nourishing myself at that gathering? I'm going to nourish myself. And only foods that are in alignment with that intention will be what I choose. And claiming that for yourself, making it a declaration, it's very empowering. And it tells you that you care about you, right? It's kind of like if you take a kid to the park and you say, I can take you to the park and we can only stay for 1 hour. I need you to know that. They may still throw a fit because they might still feel the discomfort, but they knew ahead of time, you know? So it's not like they're surprised. When we're shocked, we get a little bit like our nervous system gets a little bit jacked. And sugar jacks our nervous system anyway. Literally, it puts us on edge in the nervous system realm. So we can set an intention before we go in to a place or whatever, an event of a holiday shindig, um, with the intention to just nourish our bodies, right? And then, say on your daily, some things that might be really helpful this time of year is to really get into like a for real though committed practice of like health and wellness. And so that's going to look like going for walks, maybe twice a day. It's going to look like adding more breath work to your practice, like intentional breath work, whether you do box breathing or breath of fire or Wim Hof, or there's a bajillion different types of breath work. You can just pay attention to it and follow it in your nose and out your nose, in your mouth, out your nose, mouth, in your nose, out your mouth, in your mouth, out your nose, whatever. But you do that for like a good solid, like 5 to 10 minutes every day. You're going to keep your nervous system calm and your mental clarity is going to heighten. So the likelihood of reaching to sugar in an addictive way has already been less. You've kind of had that, you hit that, you stopped it before it got there, right? So breath work, going for walks, getting outside, um, making sure that you're getting enough sleep, because when we're tired, we tend to reach for things to give us a jolt. We all know that people grab caffeine and sugar, right? And the sugar crash is just way more uncomfortable than the coffee crash. But you combine coffee and sugar and you crash from that. That sucks. It's no fun. But anyway, but make sure that you get enough rest. The days are very short right now. The night is very long. Like enjoy it. Use it up. We only have like another month before the days start getting longer again. We have more light coming back. So, take this time to rest and to sleep. And people are like, I don't have time. It's stressful. I have to do all these things. Here's the thing. No, you don't. You don't. I hear so many people that are so tired and they're running around, and I have been this person for most of my life, and I've really recognized and realized that like if I don't rest, no one's going to do it for me, and then I'm going to completely burn out. I'm going to hurt myself. My body is going to stop me. It'll break somehow, and it'll force me to stop, and then I'm stopped, right? It's not just a rest, it's a hard stop, and then that doesn't ever feel good, right? So get rest. If you're telling yourself that you don't have time to, then stop lying to yourself and create time to do that. Because otherwise, you're just making excuses to hurt yourself. You're just falling into an abusive pattern to you. I'll call that shit out, right? So rest. So resting, breathing, going for walks, getting outside, and this sounds very strange, so let it land, however, but don't necessarily put yourself in environments where you're going to be tempted so much. Like, if you know that you can't go to a place and not have a drink, or you can't not eat the basket of rolls, or whatever, either don't go there or tell the people ahead of time, I don't want to do this and I'm requesting support. Hey, when you go to the restaurant, if you go to the steak place and they're going to bring you the bread basket thing, you can ask the server, hey, we don't want the bread. Please don't bring it to the table. And if they do, you say, would you please take that away? We don't want that. Right? Or, hey, I'm not drinking and I'd like for you to support that. Or, hey, I'm really trying to not eat my face off with all of the sugar bombs because it's making me really sick. Is there a way that you can support me? Maybe can you put them on a separate place on the counter? I don't know, whatever it is that works for you. Maybe it means you don't go to the place. I don't go to bars because I get bored because everyone around is just drinking and talking loudly. So I'm either going to want to join them or be uncomfortable. So old me would just join them. I was one of them. It was fine. Now I just don't go, right? I'm not going to go into a candy store. I'm not going to walk down that aisle in the grocery store. I'm not going to walk down the cereal aisle in the grocery store, y'all. Talk about sugar bombs. Like the sugar in cereal now is ridiculous. On top of all the other chemicals in food color dyes, which is completely insane that the United States allows for neurotoxins to be put in children's cereal. We call it red dye number whatever and blue dye number whatever. They're literally neurotoxins. They're like you can have like 3 micrograms or 20 micrograms or whatever, but if you look at like a normal kids like meal with like an orange drink, a bag of Skittles, and like some like Kraft mac and cheese, the amount of food coloring is literally considered toxic in every other country around the world. And when you look at other countries also, they don't add the amount of sugar to the food that we do. They don't. Our government has allowed, because they're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, because it's all people that are just profiting off of our lack of health, our sickness. They profit off of that. So the government's like, that's fine, add as much sugar as you want. And then people get sick and then they have to be put on pharmaceuticals. And then because people don't have the emotional coping tools, the mental coping tools, and people don't have the knowledge. Some say that they don't have the willpower, and I think that's just a total like load of crap. It's literally it's a lack of love. If you or someone and this used to be me, I just can't say no. I just can't say no to the brownies. I can't say no to the whole entire cake. I could say no. I was choosing not to say no because I was not able to love myself enough to say no. So if you're someone who's like, oh, but I can't say no to whatever, it's because you don't love yourself. If you loved yourself, you wouldn't do that. And most often, that comes from times in your childhood that you weren't loved, so you thought at some point you weren't lovable. This goes to the spirit. So at some point you had experiences that created space for you to think and feel and believe totally that you were not worthy of love, that you weren't good enough for it. And so you took that on as a truth, and so now it just manifests in all these other ways. so that we can quit doing like one healthy pattern of behavior and one addiction and all this other stuff. But until we actually 100% unconditionally love ourselves for who we've been and who we are in this right very now moment, no matter what, this right now, and we completely accept ourselves, then we don't do harmful things. And sugar is one of the most harmful things that is literally mass given to us. We're almost force fed it. I can barely go out to eat anymore, like, because of just whatever they put in food now. It's not organic. I know that. It's not real half the time. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm grateful that I have a lot of kale in my garden. Been eating a lot of kale, and like whatever vegetables that I can get. If it comes in a package and I read the ingredients, if they add sugar to it, I don't buy it. If there's added sugar to anything, I don't buy it. No, no, thank you. Because it's addictive, and there's no need for it. I don't need to put that taxing on my kidneys, you know, and my heart and my lungs and my blood. I just don't need to do that to the whole system, because sugar does throw out of whack the whole system. Because as soon as my immune system goes down, then it'll start attacking the weakest link in the body. So if you have like a little bug in your lungs, normally no big deal. Like we can breathe it out, like we're fine. But if all of a sudden our immune system starts to get lowered or compromised because we've been eating sugar all day, every day, then next thing you know, I've got like a really bad cough, or pneumonia or whatever. When if my immune system had been built up heavy or built up strong and I'd had a healthy working immune system, then whatever that was in my lungs, it would have just naturally like rectified itself. So it puts us weak, it puts us vulnerable, right? So my invitation for all of us as we move through the rest of this year, through these long nights, dark nights, that we, don't reach for the sugar to soothe us, that we reach to a book, to our breath, to prayer, to meditation, to movement, to art, to creating, to dancing, to community, to friendships, right? To anything else, to games, board games, right? Something, game of cards, but to reach for anything else, reach for rest, reach for yourself. That we don't have to reach for, and we don't have to. I want to say this. I'm noticing too that like because this is also a time for like bring a dish, right? Potluck or whatever. You know what I noticed? People be bringing all the stuff that's easy to make and buy. What's easy to make and buy? Shit with sugar. And it's like if people brought dishes that were just healthier, then people don't need to eat as much, so it doesn't even cost anymore. It's so funny how that works. Um, it's nuts. But anyway, so if you're going somewhere and you want to bring a dish, maybe you're the one that gets to bring the item that people like me and like others can eat and not feel like they're gonna die afterward. Like maybe you could bring the dish that's like vegetables, that's tasty, or you can bring something that just doesn't have any added sugar to it. And also, here's another thing. When we eat a lot of sugar and we become inflamed, you know, it's so funny how inflammation works. It can tend to lead to either constipation or diarrhea. Ain't nobody want that. That's the last thing anybody wants, is to be like, yeah, I haven't pooped for a couple days. Or, yeah, I can't stop pooping. No, nobody wants that. So if you reduce the sugar and let your body come back to like a normal range, you'll notice that when you do eat sugar, that your body will quickly tell you, "Hey yo, I don't like that." I'll leave you with this story and then I'm going to let you go and continue enjoying your holiday week or whatever. So, I had done a cleanse, and for a month I ate nothing but fruits, veggies, nuts, and beans. That's all I ate. Just wanted to clear my system of a lot of stuff, heavy metals and just sugar and just stuff. And so one of the first meals that I ate was dumb, so dumb. This was so long ago. I went to like a buffet and I ate like everything. I was like, mac and cheese, yeah. Yeah, cake, yeah, brownies, yeah, desserts, yeah, gimme, 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 gimme. Yeah, and I was done and I was like, "Ooh, okay, I'm full." And then it was like, "Oh God, what's happening?" Yeah, we barely made it back to the house before my body was like legitimately releasing everything. It was like massive diarrhea. My body could not handle all of that sugar. You're welcome. Glad you got that story. No, you go have a great time and eat all the yummy foods. And whatever you do, just take care of you first, right? Drink a lot of water, eat a lot of fruits and veggies so that if you are going to eat the sugar, your body's immune system has already been like amplified. So it'll help you process this anyway. Check in with your emotions, check in with your mental state, check in with you to see why you're reaching for the sugar in the first place and see if it's something that's actually calling you or if it's just running away from a space that you just don't have the tools to tap into to work with yourself with. And if so, you do have the tools because you are love. So always go to that. So I love you so much. Take care of yourselves and each other. Enjoy your time alone. Enjoy your time with family. Enjoy your time with community. Just enjoy your time. Okay? I love you and I'll see you all next week.